In the previous lecture, you understand how to work with inheritance. Now let's take a look at what is exception and how you can handle different exceptions in Python. When working with programs, you probably need to work with errors as well, or you can call it an exception. So in this lecture, we're going to talk about exceptions. What is an exception? When it encounters an error, it raises an exception. Python uses exception objects. Whenever you get an error, Python creates an exception object which you can use to handle the error. If such exception object is not handled or catch, the program terminates with so-called trackback. Let me show you a very simple example. If I just say here print, and in this print, I'm going to just divide 1 by 0. If I do that and try to execute this file, I'm going to get an error message. So the Python exception object is going to return this 0 division error. Each exception is an instance of some class. In this case, we have instance of 0 division error. This instance may be raised or catch in various ways, allowing you to trap the error and do something about it, instead of just letting the entire program fail. So if you just execute this file, this will just actually fail the entire program. You can work with these errors as well. The base class of exceptions is exception. Exception is a superclass, which means you can handle any kind of errors using this class. There are many other exceptions classes as well for a specific errors. You can handle exceptions with try and except statement. Let's say you have created a program that lets the user to enter two numbers and then divide one number by other. This would work nicely until the user enter 0 as a second number. So to catch this exception and to perform some error handling, you could write the program something like this. So let me just create here a simple program to show you how you can handle the exceptions. So here I'm going to start with a try. So here I'm going to say try. So I'm going to just put all the code inside the try block. So here I'm going to specify colon and then specify scope for this try block. And now inside this try, I'm going to say x is equal to, and then I'm going to call a function integer and then specify input function inside it, just like this. So now you can notice inside this int function, I'm going to have this input function to get the value from the user, and then I'm going to specify message to the user, enter the first number. So once the user specify number, I'm going to convert that number into integer and then return to this x variable. So I'm going to have that value in this x variable. I'm going to just duplicate this statement just like this and just change this variable. And here I'm going to say enter the second number. Once I get both number one by one, down here I'm going to just print something. So here I'm going to say print x divide by y. Just for that, I'm going to end this try block. So I'm going to just exit from this indentation just like this. And here I'm going to say except and then call exception object. So here I'm going to call this object 0 division error and then specify the block of except like this. And down here I'm going to just print the second number can't be 0. If I execute this program, and now let me just put here 1 as a first value and 0 as a second value. If I press enter, you can notice I'm going to have this message as an exception of this program. The entire program is not fail. I use my own print statement to specify the error message. So when this statement return an exception, this except statement is going to catch that error, and if we have this error, I'm going to just print this message. You are free to specify any print statement or any code inside this except statement. Now let me explain this program first. I'm going to start this program with try keyword. In this try keyword, I'm going to just put my code. If I'm going to have any error from this code, I'm going to just catch that error using this statement. You can notice here this statement is going to return 0 division error if the value of the x is divided by 0. So when the 1 is divided by 0, it's going to call this 0 division error. So I'm going to just call that using this except keyword. So here I'm going to say except 0 division error, and then I'm going to print my own message to the user to understand this error properly. You can notice I use here print statement to specify the second number can't be 0. Now just for that, let me just execute this program again. And now here I'm going to specify 10. I'm going to just specify string value here instead of integer. So here I'm going to say 0, just like this. You can notice I specify here 0 as a string value. When I press enter, I'm going to get an error message. This exception is not going to call because the except clause look for only zero division error. Now, to catch this type of error, you need to first get the object. So here I'm going to catch this value error. So down here, I'm going to say except and then call value error just like this. And down here, I'm going to just print a statement. When I execute this file, here I'm going to say 10 and then I'm going to specify here 0 just like this. When I press enter, you can notice I'm going to have a message that wasn't a number, was it? Now you're not limited to only specify these exceptions. Using this program, I just catch 2 exceptions. If you want, you can catch more than one exception type with one block. You can catch more than one exception with a single one block. You can specify them all in a tuple. For example, here I'm going to just wrap this exception object. So here I'm going to grab it and in the tuple, I'm going to put this exception object, then specify comma, grab this exception object, value error just like this and specify that here. And then I'm going to get rid of this statement. And now just out of this print statement, here I'm going to say that wasn't a number, was it? Now let me just execute this file. Here I'm going to say 10 and then specify 0. When I press enter, I'm going to have both these messages. So using a single exception clause, you can handle 2 errors at the same time. Sometimes you don't want to specify your own message in this except clause. In that case, you can print the error object as well. So here in this except clause, I'm going to just specify as E. Here I'm going to say print, then specify E object. When I try to print this statement with this value, I'm going to have division by 0 error. You can notice the program is not completely failed. This object is going to return a message to the user. In some cases, you don't want to catch any object. Instead, you just want to print something to the user. So, for example, here in this program, I'm not going to catch any object here. So I'm going to get rid of this statement right from here and just leave the except keyword as it is. And in this print statement, I'm going to just print something wrong happened. So here I'm going to say something wrong happened, just like this. When I execute this program and specify values here, then I'm going to get this error message. Whatever the exception raises from this code, this exception is going to catch that exception and print this message. Now in some cases, it can be useful to have a block of code that is executed unless something bad happens. Now what I want to execute a block that will execute always. If he finds the error, I want to execute that final block, or if there is no error in this program, I want to execute that final block. So in that case, I have a finally clause. So I'm going to just put that finally clause just out of this except. Right here, I'm going to just specify finally, then specify block for this finally clause, and right here, I'm going to just print always executes. So here I'm going to say always execute in the print statement. Now let me just execute this program. Here I'm going to first specify 10 and then specify 5. When I press enter, I'm going to have result 2.0 and you can notice we have this print statement in the terminal because as I said, I want to execute this block always when I execute this code. Now let me show you what if this code raises an error message. I'm going to just execute this file again. Here I'm going to specify 1 and 0. When I press enter, you can notice it's going to call this except block and then call this finally block. So you can notice you are guaranteed that the finally clause will be executed no matter what exception occur in the try clause. There are different objects you can handle with this except clause. You can find all that objects on the Python website. Now you're not limited to use the exception handling in just a plain program. You can use it in functions or classes as well. I hope you understand how to handle exception in Python. So that is all for now. I will see you in the next one.